I never really believed in paranoia until it started happening to me. Not the kind of paranoia you joke about, like thinking you left the oven on or that someone's watching you in the shower. I'm talking about the kind that crawls under your skin and refuses to leave. It started the week my girlfriend and I moved into our first house together. We were 22, broke, and proud of ourselves for finally escaping our parents' homes. The house wasn't perfect. It had old wiring, uneven floors, a weird smell in the basement, but it was ours. We joked that it was our little castle. The street was quiet, mostly retirees and some families. The kind of neighborhood where people wave when you drive by and complain if your grass gets too long. Across from us was a house that looked different, not abandoned, but not cared for either. The paint was faded, the curtains were always drawn, and the yard was just weeds. No cars in the driveway, no mail in the box. I figured maybe someone inherited it and just hadn't decided what to do with it yet. The first time I saw him was a Tuesday evening. I'd just gotten home from work, arms full of groceries, when I glanced across the street. And there he was, a man, upstairs window, just standing there. At first I thought maybe he was curious. New neighbors, you know? But he didn't move. He didn't even shift his weight, just stood perfectly still, like a shadow pressed against the glass. I carried the groceries in, brushed it off, told myself I was imagining things. But the next night, same thing, same window, same time, same figure. That's when I told my girlfriend. She laughed at me, said I was watching too many true crime videos. But then, she saw him too. We were sitting on the couch, blinds half open, when she froze mid-sentence and whispered, "He's there." And yeah, he was there. No movement, no phone, no smoking, no nothing, just staring. We decided to wave. I don't know why, maybe to prove to ourselves he wasn't actually watching us. But when I lifted my hand, something in my chest sank, because the figure leaned forward, slowly, deliberately, like he'd been waiting. We both dropped the blinds immediately, sat in silence, listening to our own breathing. After that, I couldn't stop checking. I'd peek through the blinds at random times, sometimes morning, sometimes after work, and almost every time, he was there. I told myself maybe he just lived there. Maybe he was harmless. But then why never come outside? Why never get the mail, mow the lawn, or turn on a light? Weeks went by, and I started keeping track. I'd jot down the times I saw him, how long he stood there. Some nights it was just a few minutes. Other nights, hours, always facing our house. It got under my skin. I couldn't sleep without wondering if he was watching. Sometimes I'd dream I was standing in front of that house, looking up at the window, and when the curtain finally opened, it wasn't a man at all, just empty blackness. The breaking point came one Friday night. My girlfriend had gone to bed early, so I stayed up watching TV. Around 1:30 a.m., I went to get some water. The blinds in the kitchen were open just a crack, and he wasn't in the window. He was outside, standing on the sidewalk across the street, facing my house, still, silent, perfectly upright. I dropped to the floor so fast I hit my elbow on the counter. My heart was hammering. I crawled to the living room, pulled the curtain just enough to look again. He hadn't moved. I called the police, told them some guy was standing outside my house watching me. They sent a car, but by the time it arrived, the sidewalk was empty. They checked the house across the street too, knocked on the door. No answer. The officer told me maybe it was a drunk neighbor or a prank, said I should install cameras if I was that worried. Then he left. The next morning, my camcorder was gone. It had been sitting in the living room, pointed at the window, recording all night. The tape inside was missing too, but nothing else was touched. No broken locks, no forced entry. When I told my girlfriend, she wanted to leave right then. I convinced her to stay a little longer, but every night after that was hell. We'd hear footsteps on the porch, scraping sounds on the siding. Once, even tapping on the glass of our bedroom window. One night, I worked up the courage to look through the peephole. The porch was empty, but just as I turned away, tap, tap, tap from the back door. We didn't check. We just barricaded ourselves upstairs and waited for dawn. The final straw happened a week later. My girlfriend screamed from the kitchen. I ran in and found her pointing at the window. Across the street, second floor. The man wasn't standing anymore. He was crouched, hands pressed against the glass, head tilted at an unnatural angle. We left that night, packed whatever we could fit into the car and never went back. A month later, I asked one of the neighbors if they knew who lived in that house. She looked at me strangely and said, "No one." That place has been empty since the old owner passed away years ago. I didn't ask any more questions, but sometimes late at night, I still catch myself staring at windows, half expecting to see a shadow staring back. And I wonder if whoever or whatever was in that house followed us when we left. I've always been attached to my phone, not in the addicted, scrolling all night way, more like it was my safety net. I lived alone, and having it by my side made me feel connected, like I wasn't completely on my own. That's why I noticed immediately when things changed. It started small. A call at 2:17 a.m. The number wasn't in my contacts, but it wasn't blocked either. Just blank. All zeros. I stared at the screen, half asleep, debating whether to pick up. Finally, I answered. Nothing. Not even static. I hung up, rolled over, and told myself it was a glitch. But it happened again. The next night. Same time, same number. This time I stayed quiet. I didn't say hello, didn't breathe into the receiver. I just listened. At first there was silence. Then, faint breathing, slow, deep, like someone holding the phone right against their mouth. I hung up so fast my hands shook. I blocked the number, reported it to my carrier. They told me it wasn't possible to get a call from a number like that, but if it happened again, I should change my SIM. And it did happen again. Only this time, they left a voicemail. When I saw the notification, my stomach dropped. I never gave that number out. How was someone leaving me voicemails from it? I played it. At first it was just breathing again, but then, barely audible, a whisper. "Don't close the blinds." I froze. My blinds were closed. They'd been closed since dinner. I jumped up, ripped them open, and scanned the street. Empty. No cars, no figures, nothing. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was a prank. But the next night, another voicemail came. This time the whisper said, "Red shirt," and I was wearing one. Right then, in my living room. That's when the panic set in. Whoever this was, they weren't just calling. They could see me. I taped over my phone camera, covered every window, slept with the lights on. But the calls kept coming. Always the same number, always the same time, always a whisper pointing out some detail about me. On the couch. Don't drink that. Behind you. That last one nearly gave me a heart attack. I spun so hard I tripped over my own chair, scrambling across the floor. But there was no one there. Just me, panting, shaking, clutching the phone like it was about to explode. I stopped answering after that. I stopped checking the voicemails too. But the notifications piled up. 20, 30, 50 missed calls, dozens of unheard recordings. I wanted to throw the phone out the window, but part of me couldn't. What if it was someone I knew? What if ignoring it made it worse? The breaking point came on a Saturday. I'd left the phone face down on the table while I tried to distract myself with TV. And then, my own voice filled the room. Not from the TV, from the phone. I picked it up, and somehow it was playing a recording of me. My exact voice from earlier that day. Me ordering coffee at the corner shop. Me chatting with the barista. I hadn't recorded that, but someone else had. The message ended with the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. I didn't even pack a bag. I just ran, grabbed my keys, bolted out the door, and drove straight to my sister's place across town. When I finally worked up the courage to check my phone again, the call log was blank. Every voicemail, every missed call, gone, wiped clean. I got a new number, new SIM, even a new phone. But sometimes late at night, it still rings at 2:17 a.m., and I don't answer anymore. Because I know, if I do, I'll hear that same voice whispering something new. And I'm terrified of what it might say next. I've never liked living alone. Silence has a way of getting under your skin. The creaks, the hums, the way the house settles. It all feels louder when no one else is around. But it wasn't until last winter that silence became something else. Something dangerous. I'd been renting this old house on the edge of town. Cheap, roomy, but drafty as hell. The kind of place where the windows whistled when the wind blew and the pipes rattled in the middle of the night. The first few weeks I thought I was just adjusting. Every sound made me jump, but I reminded myself, old house, normal noises. Then the footsteps started, not constant, not every night. Just now and then, around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd wake up to the faint creak of floorboards in the hallway, slow, uneven, like someone trying not to wake me. The first time I grabbed a baseball bat and flung the door open. Nothing. Empty hallway, front door locked, windows shut. I told myself maybe it was pipes expanding, maybe I was dreaming, but the next time I was wide awake, lying there in the dark, holding my breath, staring at the door. And I swear, I could hear the steps stop right outside my room. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just lay there, gripping the sheets until my fingers went numb. Minutes passed, then nothing. Silence. I finally worked up the courage to check. Empty again. That became my routine. Wake up to footsteps, freeze, wait, check, find nothing. Over and over. For weeks. Until one night something changed. I was dozing off when I heard it. The creak, the shuffle, that slow, deliberate pace. But this time, when it stopped outside my door, the doorknob turned, just a little, enough to click. I bolted upright, heart pounding, stared at the knob, waiting for it to move again. It didn't. I spent the rest of the night sitting in bed with the bat in my hands, eyes locked on that door. The next morning I checked every lock, every window. Nothing was broken, but I couldn't shake it. Someone had been inside. I bought cameras, motion sensors, even set up a chair under the doorknob at night so I'd hear if someone tried to open it. And still the noises came. One night I replayed the camera footage from the hallway. At first it looked empty, just grainy black and white. Then at 2:37 a.m., the motion sensor went off, and the camera glitched, static. When it cleared, the timestamp had jumped 3 minutes, but the chair I'd set under the doorknob, it had been moved. I didn't sleep for days after that. The final night, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I'd packed a bag, planned to leave first thing in the morning, but around 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of my bedroom door opening. Slowly, carefully. I froze. My chair was still wedged under the knob. I would have heard it scrape. But the door was open. Just a crack. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. I just lay there staring into the black slice of hallway beyond the door. And that's when I saw it. A shape, tall, thin, standing just out of reach of the light. Not moving, not breathing, just there, watching. I don't remember falling asleep. Maybe I passed out. But when I woke up, the door was shut again. The chair was back in place. I left that morning and never returned. Left the deposit, left half my stuff, didn't care. A few weeks later, the landlord called, asked if I'd left a mannequin behind in the upstairs hall. I told him I didn't own one. He didn't believe me. Said it was there when he came to check the house. A tall, thin figure standing just outside the bedroom door. And I think about that sometimes. How something or someone might still be in that house, standing in the hallway at night, waiting for another tenant to fall asleep.